Good afternoon and welcome to this week's BizSmart Lunch and Learn webinar. Our weekly webinars are aimed to provide advice and share knowledge on key business topics and specialist areas. Joining me today is BizSmart Select member Liz Painter from Comma. Liz's webinar today is entitled Why Every Business Owner Should Blog. Before we start our webinar, can I ask you to use the question mark function on your screen to post any questions that you may have, and Liz will answer them at the end of the session. Thank you very much for joining us, and over to you, Liz.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. I'll start by introducing myself. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Liz Painter and I run a copywriting agency called Comma. We write website content, blogs, email marketing campaigns and ebooks for small businesses, and we also coach business owners to write their own blogs. So today we're going to cover why every business owner should blog. By the end of the webinar, you should have a better understanding of why blogging is a good idea for your business, and hopefully have some ideas to help you improve your existing blog or perhaps get a new blog off the ground. So let's start with why you're blogging. For every business owner who writes a blog, there are plenty of others who, for whatever reason, don't keep their blog up to date. Things get in the way, you're too busy running your own business to do your blogging. To be honest, if you don't know why you're blogging, then it will be difficult to motivate yourself to write a blog. You'll struggle to find the time. So let's start with the reasons for having a business blog. You can position yourself as an expert. It's a great way to show that you're good at what you do and that you have a lot of knowledge in that area. You can highlight your experience. You can demonstrate what you've been doing for your customers with case studies, problems you've solved for your clients, and successes that your customers have had with your products. You can use your blog to build relationships. If people read your blog, then they'll begin to get to know you and your business. They'll understand a lot more about what you do. People won't read your blog unless you're talking about something they're interested in. So it's a great way to connect with your target audience, and it will automatically filter out people who aren't interested in what you do. Your blog can increase trust. We all know that people need to know, like, and trust you before they'll want to work with you or buy from you, and a blog can really help with this. For example, if you're a personal trainer and you blog each week about the challenges your clients face, maybe things that get in the way of exercising or eating healthily, then you're building up your status and your expertise with people who might not be ready to use a personal trainer now but could become clients in the future. It's important to remember that a blog is a slow burner. You're not doing it for instant results. You have to commit to it and it will work for you over time. A blog will help you show up in Google searches. If you're blogging about the kind of things that people might search for online, then that's going to improve your Google rankings. Google loves fresh content, so you'll get ranked higher if you update your blog regularly. But if you're blogging about relevant stuff, then you're more likely to come up in a search done by your target audience as well. I can give you an example of that. We went camping recently and I needed to wash one of our sleeping bags. It's a really expensive down 3-season sleeping bag that we bought for a trip to the Alps a few years ago. So I was quite conscious of not ruining it while I washed it. So I did a quick search online. Top of the list for how to wash a sleeping bag was the Mountain Warehouse website. I clicked through. Their advice sounded sensible. Wash it in the bath or take it to the laundrette, but make sure you put some tennis balls in with the sleeping bag so the down doesn't all bunch up together. I'm quite into the great outdoors, so while I was on their advice site, I clicked through to the shop and I accidentally bought a jacket in their sale. I just wouldn't have been there if they hadn't written a post about washing sleeping bags. So that's the power of a blog, and that's how you can use a blog to attract more of the right customers. When you're planning your blog, think about your reader. It can be difficult to know what to write about, so when you're planning your blog posts, put yourself in the mind of your reader. Who are they? What sort of age are they? What are their likes and dislikes? What do they worry about? And how can you solve those worries for them? If you know someone who's your ideal client, perhaps an existing client or a current prospect, then bring them to mind when you're writing, and this will help you get the right tone of voice. What should you write about? A really great place to start is to tell a story. We're all kids at heart, and a story will really engage us. You could talk about something you did for a client, a problem you solved, or maybe something funny that happened with a potential client and something that they would identify with. You can divulge some useful info. There's probably loads of stuff in your industry that's really obvious to you, but the general population wouldn't really know about it. For example, I've just written a blog post about how to put together a flyer, which is obviously really easy for me because I do it all the time. But your average business owner might not know all the key components of a flyer. Creating a list is a really good, interesting post that you can write. I mean, this is quite common online, so don't make every post a list. But it's a good way to come up with quite a quick blog post. So, for example, if you're a plumber, you could do 7 ways to protect your home from burst pipes this winter. Or if you're in insurance, perhaps you could do 3 reasons your claim could be refused. For some reason, odd numbers work better. More people click on odd numbers in tests than even numbers, so go for an odd numbered list. Another thing you can do is take advantage of a seasonal event or incorporate a current news story. So, you know, obviously there's any number of seasonal events, Christmas, Halloween, summer. Perhaps as we're coming up to autumn and the clocks are going to go back, security lights might be something that if you're in that sort of industry, you could promote using that as a seasonal event. With news stories, it doesn't have to be a big headline. It could just be a small study that's been released into the media. So if you're a business coach, something like stress in the workplace could make a good blog story. Or if you're in financial services, perhaps you could link something to the budget. Or the obesity crisis might be a good thing to focus on for a personal trainer. And finally, another good one to use occasionally is one of those random month, week or days. So, you know, you have Mental Health Week or Chocolate Week, or even International Talk Like a Pirate Day. It's okay to use humour in your blog. Probably don't want to use this sort of post for every post, but if it's relevant to your industry, then go for it. Now, how can you create a good blog post? It's important to try and make an impact with your post, and start by writing a compelling headline. I could do a webinar in itself on how to write a good headline, but it is the most important bit because it's what gets people reading your blog post. So spend a bit of time on this. Make sure it grabs people's attention. You could use a question, or a how-to, or 7 ways to. But it does need to reflect the content of the post. There has been a bit of a fashion online for people having a really amazing headline and then the actual post doesn't reflect what's in the headline. So make sure they do link up. Don't be afraid to be controversial, not just for the sake of it, but if you're doing something differently to the rest of your industry, then shout about it. It's a way that you can get noticed. Be yourself. You know, if you're not a super cool, down with the kids kind of person, then don't try and write that way. It's going to be much easier long term to stick with your blog if you just write it as you are. Focus on the reader. Don't talk about yourself all the time and say we this, we that. You need to use you and write for the audience. And make sure you break up the text. People aren't keen on reading long passages of just plain text. So if you use bullet points and pictures, that will break it up a bit. If you need somewhere to get pictures online, Pixabay, Pixabay, is a good site that offers free pictures, and also Shutterstock is quite good, although that's paid for pictures. If you can use subheadings as well, you know, in the same way that, say, a tabloid newspaper will put a few words outside of the main text as a subhead, that's a good way to break up the text. And it just means that you're making your blog post right for 2 different types of readers, so the people that will read every word and also the people that will skim the text. Whenever I mention that I write blogs for my clients, I get asked quite a few questions about it. So these are some of the most common questions that I get asked. How long should my blog post be? To be honest, it really doesn't matter. You need to write enough for it to be of value to the reader. Something to aim for is maybe somewhere between 300 and 600 words. But to be honest, your blog post can be thousands of words. As long as it's relevant and interesting, people will read it. How often should I post to my blog? To be honest, the optimum is probably weekly. That's going to make sure that you're getting regular fresh content up that Google will like. If you push for time, you could drop it to fortnightly or even monthly, but I wouldn't go any less than that because it's not going to increase your chances of coming up in a search. Weekly is 52 posts a year, so one way to fit all of those in is to maybe sit down and write 3 or 4 at once. You'll get into the swing of doing it, and that will save you a bit of time, and you can actually set them up to post in advance, so you're only needing to sit down once a month and write your 4 posts. Do you need a schedule? It can be good to have a schedule, but it's not essential. It's quite nice for people to expect your post on a certain day of the week. They can maybe build it into their routine of reading it, say, on a Friday lunchtime, but it really isn't the end of the world if you haven't got time to stick to a schedule. Should you be using keywords? Yes, absolutely. I could do a whole podcast in itself on this, but certainly think about what people would search for and try to use those words in your posts. You don't need to use them over the top. You don't need multiple keywords. Don't go too mad because Google won't like it if you're using the same word over and over again. You can also use Google's keyword tool to find out what people are actually searching for if you're a bit more savvy. Remember, it's not just individual words, it's strings of words as well. Should you have your comments turned on or off? To be honest, this is a personal preference. It's really good to get engagement if you have your comments on. But if you're already struggling to find time to write your blog, then it might be best to leave them off. One of the issues with having your comments on is that you can get a lot of spam, and obviously there are filters to protect against that, but it can become quite time consuming responding to comments as well. So it's really a personal preference thing. Should you be creating podcasts or videos? This is a really great idea if you've got time, or perhaps if those media suit you better. If you don't see yourself as much of a writer, but you're pretty good on camera, then it might make sense for you to have a vlog, so that all your blog posts are videos. And then you can include a transcript for people who prefer who prefer to read rather than watch videos. So yeah, if you've got time, do it. How can you make sure your posts are getting read? I would start by tracking what you're doing. So if you haven't already, make sure you've got Google Analytics on your website. If you can't put it on there yourself, then get your web developer or anyone who's a bit tech savvy to do it for you. And also make sure they show you how to use it as well. Because if you don't have that on there, you won't be able to see all the benefits that you're getting from the blogging, and you won't actually be able to track what's working and what isn't. As we've already said, use keywords. For example, if you're working in a particular geographic region, then it might make sense to include things like local town names. So if someone's searching for plumber in Bromsgrove, you're more likely to come up. Use the services that you offer as well as keywords. But as I said before, don't go over the top. It needs to be readable, and Google won't like too many keywords, the same keyword in the same post. If you're on WordPress, then I really recommend using Yoast, which is a plugin that helps you optimize your posts so that you've got the same keywords in the title, in the body of the blog, and also in your meta text. Don't forget good old-fashioned word of mouth. Tell people you're blogging in person. So if you see them at a networking event, you could mention your new blog. Encourage them to have a read and tell you what they think. They might have some good feedback for you. You can let your clients and prospects know by email that you're blogging, and also you must share them the blog posts on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and whatever other platforms you're using as a way to get your blogs out there. And don't forget to promote other people's blogs that you're reading as well. What goes around comes around, so if you're sharing other people's blogs, then people are more likely to share yours. So have a look around for your clients, prospects, friends, any other people that you know that are writing blogs that you enjoy, and recommend them to people. It doesn't have to be people in your industry. For example, I'm a copywriter, but I'm also a business owner, so I might choose to share something on time management or my favourite accounts package. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover today. My final point is it's not an exact science, so try things with your blog. Don't be afraid to experiment and see where it takes you, see what works. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much for that, Liz. If anyone's got any questions, if you'd like to start posting them now, that would be great. We've got one that's come through from Kevin, and he's asking, what if I'm not very good at writing? What tips can you give me to improve my writing skills?
Thanks, Kevin. The only way to get better at writing is to practice. The more you do it, the easier it gets. So firstly, you could ask someone you know who can write reasonably well to help you edit the first few posts. Or if you really struggle with writing, you could record what you want to say on the voice memo on your phone. If you then play it out loud and capture what you want to say in text format, or get someone who can type quickly to do it for you, then you can edit it and post it onto the blog. And obviously the other option, as I said earlier, is if writing isn't really your strong suit, then you can always record a video blog and include a transcript underneath.
Great, thank you very much. Another question from Ian. All of my clients come via word of mouth referrals. Is it still worth me writing a blog?
Brilliant question. Lots of people ask me this. It's absolutely worth you having a blog. Loads of businesses start off only getting word of mouth referrals, but they generally find once they get their first client through their website, they get a real kick out of the fact that actually their website and their blog is good enough to win them clients. It means eventually you can cut down on the amount of time spent networking because you're actually winning clients directly through your website. And also those clients are often pre-qualifying themselves because they wouldn't actually have been on your site if they weren't interested in what you do. So you're more likely to end up with the right sort of clients that are a good fit for what you do.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Another question now has come through from Melanie. I'm not that happy with my website. The business has moved on a little, so it's out of date. Should I start a blog now, or is it better to update my website first?
Okay, good question. In an ideal world, it's definitely better to make sure that you're happy with your website first before you start writing a blog. That's quite important.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if there's any more questions coming through. Thank you so much, Liz, for hosting today's webinar. I'll send out a copy of the presentation and also Liz's contact details to you this afternoon, so you can email Liz if you do have any questions. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed our webinar today and that you make them a regular slot in your calendar every Tuesday at 12:30. Liz and I hope you have a great afternoon. Thank you.